For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the morning of July 12, 2003, 32-year-old Hannah Anderson left her base camp near Snowmass Mountain in Aspen, Colorado. She was an experienced mountaineer, embarking on a challenging climb with her partner, Nathan Diaz. She never returned. Despite an extensive search involving helicopters, ground crews, and expert climbers, Hannah vanished without a trace. For 21 years, her family lived with agonizing uncertainty, clinging to the hope that one day they would learn what happened to their beloved Hannah. Then, in the spring of 2024, a discovery was made high on the mountain. This is the complete investigation into what happened to Hannah Anderson. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. Snowmass Mountain, a majestic peak in the Elk Range near Aspen, Colorado, draws climbers from around the world. Its jagged silhouette against the clear blue sky offers a deceptive tranquility, belying the dangers hidden within its icy slopes. In July 2003, this breathtaking landscape became the backdrop for a tragedy that would remain shrouded in mystery for over 2 decades. Hannah Anderson, a 32-year-old outdoor writer and experienced mountaineer, was known for her adventurous spirit and deep love of the mountains. She had conquered numerous challenging peaks, documenting her experiences in captivating articles that inspired fellow climbers. Hannah's passion for climbing led her to Nathan Diaz, a charismatic and seemingly competent climbing partner. Their shared love for the sport blossomed into a romantic relationship, and they often embarked on ambitious climbs together. In the summer of 2003, Hannah and Nathan planned to tackle a notoriously difficult route on Snowmass Mountain. The route, known for its exposed faces and unpredictable weather, demanded technical skill and careful planning. They set off on a clear July morning, equipped with all the necessary gear and provisions. Initially, the climb progressed smoothly. Nathan, according to his later account, took the lead, setting anchors and securing the rope as Hannah followed. However, as they ascended higher, the weather began to deteriorate. Dark clouds gathered above, and a fierce storm rolled in, bringing with it strong winds and heavy snow. Visibility dropped dramatically, transforming the familiar landscape into a treacherous whiteout. Nathan, upon his return, recounted a harrowing tale of survival. He claimed that amid the chaos of the storm, Hannah lost her footing and fell from a significant height. He described his desperate attempts to locate her, hampered by the blizzard and the treacherous terrain. After hours of fruitless searching, he was forced to descend, fearing for his own safety. The news of Hannah's disappearance sent shockwaves through the tight-knit climbing community and devastated her family and friends. A large-scale search and rescue operation was launched immediately. Experienced mountain rescuers, aided by helicopters and search dogs, combed the area where Nathan claimed Hannah had fallen. The search continued for days, hampered by the challenging terrain, the lingering snow, and the inherent dangers of the mountain environment. Despite their relentless efforts, no trace of Hannah was found. Her family and friends clung to the hope that she might somehow have survived, perhaps finding shelter in a crevice or cave. But as days turned into weeks, hope dwindled. Interviews with those closest to Hannah revealed a picture of a skilled and cautious climber, making the idea of an accidental fall difficult to accept. Some expressed unease about Nathan's account of the events, noting inconsistencies and a lack of detail. A nagging suspicion began to grow that something wasn't right about Nathan's story, a feeling that would linger for years to come. The initial police investigation into Hannah Anderson's disappearance focused heavily on Nathan Diaz's account of the events. He was interviewed extensively, providing a detailed description of the climb, the sudden storm, and Hannah's alleged fall. However, even in these early stages, certain inconsistencies began to emerge. While Nathan claimed the storm was sudden and violent, other climbers in the area that day reported only brief periods of snow and limited visibility. Furthermore, Nathan's description of Hannah's fall lacked specific details. He couldn't pinpoint the exact location of the fall or describe the terrain features that might have contributed to the accident. He also claimed to have searched for hours, yet no signs of his efforts were found by rescuers. The investigation was further hampered by the challenging environment. The remote and rugged terrain of Snowmass Mountain made searching difficult and dangerous. The lack of physical evidence, such as footprints or gear belonging to Hannah, added to the complexity. Investigators considered the possibility that the storm had obscured or swept away any trace of her, but the lack of any tangible clues fueled their growing suspicions. As the investigation progressed, the focus shifted to verifying Nathan's climbing experience and his relationship with Hannah. Interviews with other climbers revealed that while Nathan presented himself as an experienced mountaineer, his actual skills were questionable. Some described him as reckless and prone to taking unnecessary risks. Others mentioned tension between Hannah and Nathan in the weeks leading up to the climb, suggesting that their relationship might not have been as harmonious as Nathan portrayed. Despite these red flags, the lack of concrete evidence made it difficult to build a case against Nathan. The search for Hannah was eventually called off, leaving her family in an agonizing limbo. The official conclusion was that Hannah Anderson had perished in a climbing accident, a victim of the unforgiving mountain. However, the unanswered questions and the lingering doubts surrounding Nathan's story cast a long shadow over the case. Law enforcement involved in the initial investigation expressed frustration at the lack of progress. They felt that crucial pieces of the puzzle were missing, preventing them from determining exactly what happened to Hannah on that fateful day. The case, for the time being, remained open but inactive, another unsolved mystery in the vast wilderness of the Colorado mountains. The years following Hannah Anderson's disappearance were a time of profound grief and unanswered questions for her family and friends. Her parents, John and Mary Anderson, struggled to come to terms with the loss of their daughter, their pain compounded by the lack of closure. Hannah's younger sister, Sarah, spoke of the void left in their lives, a constant reminder of the vibrant and adventurous spirit that had been extinguished. The climbing community, too, felt the impact of Hannah's loss. She had been a respected and admired member of their world, her writing inspiring countless others to explore the mountains. Her disappearance served as a stark reminder of the inherent risks of the sport, a sobering counterpoint to the exhilaration and freedom it offered. As time passed and no new information emerged, the case of Hannah Anderson gradually faded from public view. It became another unsolved mystery, filed away among the countless others that haunt the vast wilderness areas of the United States. The Snowmass Mountain incident, once a headline-grabbing tragedy, became a local legend, whispered among climbers and locals, a cautionary tale of the mountain's unpredictable nature. Theories about Hannah's fate continued to circulate. Some speculated that she might have wandered off course and succumbed to the elements, while others clung to the belief that she might still be alive, somehow surviving in the remote wilderness. However, without any concrete evidence, these theories remained just that, speculation. Ian Clark, Hannah's ex-husband, never gave up hope of finding answers. He remained in contact with law enforcement, regularly inquiring about the case and urging them to continue the search. He conducted his own informal investigations, speaking with other climbers and exploring the area where Hannah disappeared. Driven by a deep sense of loss and a desire to bring closure to Hannah's family, Ian's persistence would eventually play a crucial role in uncovering the truth. The years passed, marked by the changing seasons on Snowmass Mountain. The snow fell and melted, the wildflowers bloomed and withered, and the cycle of life and death continued its relentless course. The mountain held its secrets close, seemingly unwilling to relinquish the truth about what happened to Hannah Anderson. The case remained cold, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of unanswered questions. The hope of ever knowing what truly happened began to fade, leaving a lingering sense of hopelessness and a painful acceptance that the truth might never be revealed. 21 years had passed since Hannah Anderson vanished on Snowmass Mountain. The spring thaw of 2024, however, was destined to unearth a secret the mountain had held captive for over 2 decades. Melting snow and receding ice revealed something unexpected, something that would shatter the long-held assumptions about Hannah's disappearance. Protruding from a newly exposed crevasse, a length of climbing rope snagged the eye of a hiker traversing the slopes below the established climbing routes. The vibrant color of the rope, remarkably preserved despite its long burial in the ice, stood in stark contrast to the grayish-white surroundings. The hiker, recognizing the potential significance of the find, immediately contacted the local authorities. The discovery of the rope sent ripples of shock and anticipation through the small town of Aspen. Could this be the breakthrough that had eluded investigators for so long? Could this finally be the clue that would unravel the mystery of Hannah Anderson's disappearance? A team of expert mountaineers and forensic specialists was dispatched to the site. The recovery of the rope was a delicate and painstaking process, requiring specialized equipment and careful maneuvering to avoid disturbing the surrounding ice and potentially any other evidence the crevasse might hold. Once retrieved, the rope was immediately transported to a forensic laboratory for analysis. Preliminary examination revealed that the rope was indeed a climbing rope, specifically designed for high-altitude mountaineering. Its condition, despite being encased in ice for over 2 decades, was surprisingly good. Further analysis, using advanced techniques not available in 2003, provided a crucial piece of information. The rope had been cleanly cut, not frayed or broken as would be expected in the event of a fall. This discovery dramatically shifted the focus of the investigation. What was initially believed to be a tragic climbing accident now bore the chilling hallmarks of a potential crime. The case of Hannah Anderson, long considered cold, was suddenly resurrected. Inspector Xavier White, a seasoned investigator with a reputation for tenacity and meticulous attention to detail, was assigned to lead the reinvigorated investigation. Inspector White, unfamiliar with the original case files, approached the investigation with fresh eyes. He meticulously reviewed the initial reports, witness statements, and search and rescue logs, searching for any overlooked clues or inconsistencies. The discovery of the cut rope, combined with the renewed scrutiny of the original evidence, transformed the narrative of Hannah's disappearance. The mountain, once thought to have swallowed Hannah whole, now seemed to be offering up a long-held secret, a silent testament to a crime concealed beneath its icy surface. The focus shifted from accidental fall to potential foul play, and the investigation into Hannah Anderson's disappearance entered a new and critical phase. Inspector Xavier White, tasked with unraveling the 2-decade-old mystery of Hannah Anderson's disappearance, began his investigation by revisiting the original case files. He meticulously reviewed the initial police reports, witness statements, and search and rescue logs, searching for any overlooked details or inconsistencies that might shed light on the newly discovered evidence. He paid particular attention to Nathan Diaz's account of the events, noting the discrepancies that had been flagged by the initial investigators. The fact that the recovered rope had been cleanly cut, coupled with the inconsistencies in Nathan's story, pointed towards a deliberate act rather than a tragic accident. Inspector White's next step was to re-interview key witnesses from the original investigation. Many of these individuals, now 21 years older, had moved on with their lives, but the memory of Hannah's disappearance remained vivid. Their recollections, filtered through the lens of time, offered new perspectives and insights. Some witnesses recalled details they hadn't shared in 2003, perhaps due to the initial shock and confusion surrounding the event. Others, with the benefit of hindsight, now interpreted Nathan's behavior and statements in a different light. Inspector White also sought out new witnesses, individuals who had known Hannah and Nathan but hadn't been interviewed during the initial investigation. He spoke with fellow climbers, friends, and colleagues, piecing together a more comprehensive picture of their relationship and the events leading up to the fateful climb. As the investigation progressed, a timeline of events began to emerge. Inspector White discovered that in the weeks prior to the climb, Hannah had expressed concerns about Nathan's increasingly reckless climbing style to several friends. She had confided in one close friend that she was considering ending their relationship, fearing for her safety on future climbs with him. This information, previously unknown to investigators, provided a potential motive for foul play. A crucial piece of the puzzle emerged when Inspector White discovered a life insurance policy Nathan had taken out on Hannah just weeks before their climb. The policy, for a substantial sum, named Nathan as the sole beneficiary. This discovery added a significant layer to the emerging narrative, suggesting a possible financial motive for Hannah's disappearance. Inspector White delved into Nathan's financial records, uncovering a history of debt and risky investments. This, combined with the insurance policy, painted a picture of a man facing financial pressure, potentially desperate enough to resort to extreme measures. The investigation extended beyond personal interviews and financial records. Inspector White revisited the site where the rope had been discovered, carefully examining the surrounding terrain. He consulted with glaciologists and mountaineering experts to understand how the rope could have ended up in the crevasse and what that might reveal about the sequence of events on the day of Hannah's disappearance. The experts confirmed that the location of the crevasse and the depth at which the rope was found were consistent with Nathan's initial account of the climb, but the cleanly cut rope suggested a deliberate act of sabotage. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together. The inconsistencies in Nathan's story, the newly discovered life insurance policy, Hannah's concerns about Nathan's reckless behavior, and the forensic evidence from the cut rope all pointed towards a chilling possibility: that Hannah Anderson's disappearance was not an accident, but a carefully orchestrated crime. The investigation, fueled by new evidence and a renewed sense of purpose, was steadily building a case against Nathan Diaz. The reinvigorated investigation into Hannah Anderson's disappearance hinged on circumstantial evidence and the testimony of those who knew her and Nathan Diaz. A crucial breakthrough came from an unexpected source: Hannah's ex-husband, Ian Clark. While Ian had been interviewed during the initial investigation in 2003, his recent testimony proved far more significant. Driven by years of unanswered questions and a lingering suspicion about Nathan, Ian had continued his own informal investigation into Hannah's disappearance. He had meticulously collected information, spoken with mutual acquaintances, and revisited the details of Hannah and Nathan's relationship. During his recent interview with Inspector White, Ian revealed a startling piece of information. He recounted a conversation he'd had with Nathan several months after Hannah's disappearance. According to Ian, Nathan had bragged, albeit vaguely, about how he had gotten away with it, making oblique references to an accident that had been convenient. At the time, Ian had dismissed these remarks as the ramblings of a grieving and perhaps guilt-ridden partner. However, in light of the new evidence, these cryptic statements took on a sinister new meaning. Ian's testimony, while circumstantial, provided a critical link between Nathan and the possibility of foul play. It corroborated the growing suspicion that Hannah's disappearance was not an accident but a deliberate act. This testimony, combined with the forensic evidence from the cut rope and the life insurance policy, provided Inspector White with the leverage he needed to confront Nathan Diaz directly. Nathan, now living a seemingly ordinary life far from Aspen, was brought in for questioning. Initially, he maintained his original story, sticking to the account he had given 21 years earlier. He spoke of the sudden storm, Hannah's fall, and his desperate but ultimately futile attempts to rescue her. However, as Inspector White presented the new evidence, the cut rope, the insurance policy, and Ian Clark's testimony, Nathan's composure began to unravel. Confronted with the mounting evidence against him, Nathan's carefully constructed facade crumbled. He confessed to cutting Hannah's rope, admitting that her fall had not been an accident. He described a heated argument on the mountain, fueled by Hannah's threat to end their relationship due to his reckless climbing. In a moment of blind rage, he had deliberately severed her rope, watching in horror as she plummeted into the blizzard-obscured depths below. Nathan confessed that he had then buried the cut rope deep in the glacier, hoping to conceal his crime and make it appear as a tragic accident. He had returned to base camp, feigning distress and recounting a fabricated story of a sudden storm and an unavoidable fall. He had played the role of the grieving partner, all the while concealing the terrible truth of what he had done. His confession, delivered in a low, remorseful voice, filled the interrogation room with a chilling silence. The truth, buried for so long beneath the ice and snow of Snowmass Mountain, had finally been revealed. The meticulous investigation, driven by the discovery of a single piece of climbing rope, had brought a killer to justice and provided a measure of closure to a family haunted by grief and unanswered questions for over 2 decades. Nathan Diaz, broken and defeated, agreed to lead investigators to the location where Hannah Anderson had fallen. He guided them back to Snowmass Mountain, to the treacherous slopes where he had last seen her alive. The journey was arduous, the terrain challenging even for the experienced mountaineers accompanying them. Nathan, haunted by the ghosts of his past, moved slowly, his steps heavy with the weight of his confession. He led them to a remote section of the mountain, far from the established climbing routes, a place hidden amidst towering peaks and crevasse-riddled glaciers. There, beneath the melting ice of a deep crevasse, lay Hannah Anderson's body, remarkably preserved by the frigid environment. The recovery of Hannah's remains was a somber and emotional undertaking. Her body, still clad in her climbing gear, bore silent witness to the tragic events of that fateful day. The discovery brought a mix of relief and profound sorrow to Hannah's family. While the confirmation of her death reopened old wounds, it also provided a sense of closure, ending years of agonizing uncertainty. John and Mary Anderson, Hannah's parents, could finally lay their daughter to rest, bringing an end to their long and painful vigil. Sarah, Hannah's sister, spoke of the bittersweet relief of finally knowing what had happened to her sister, allowing them to begin the process of healing and remembering Hannah for the vibrant and adventurous spirit she had been. The climbing community reacted with a mixture of shock and sadness to the news of Hannah's fate. The revelation that one of their own had been murdered by a fellow climber sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community. Hannah's death served as a stark reminder of the inherent dangers of the mountains, but also of the darker side of human nature that can sometimes lurk beneath the surface. The discovery of Hannah's body and Nathan's confession led to swift legal proceedings. Nathan Diaz was charged with first-degree murder. He pleaded guilty, accepting responsibility for his actions and expressing remorse for the pain he had caused. He was sentenced to life in prison, bringing a sense of justice to Hannah's family and the community. The case of Hannah Anderson, once a cold case shrouded in mystery, became a landmark case in the annals of mountain climbing tragedies. It highlighted the importance of thorough investigations, the power of forensic science, and the unwavering dedication of those who seek justice for victims of violent crime. It also sparked a renewed focus on climbing safety and awareness within the climbing community. Discussions about responsible climbing practices, partner selection, and emergency preparedness became more prevalent, a legacy of the tragic lessons learned from Hannah's death. The resolution of the case brought a measure of peace to Hannah's family and friends. While the pain of her loss would undoubtedly endure, they could finally begin to heal and remember Hannah not as a victim, but as the vibrant, adventurous woman who had lived life to the fullest, embracing the challenges and the beauty of the mountains she loved. Inspector Xavier White, reflecting on the case, emphasized the importance of persistence in pursuing justice, even in cold cases. He noted how the smallest piece of evidence, in this case a length of climbing rope, can unravel a complex web of deceit and bring closure to those who have long suffered in the shadows of unanswered questions. The mountains, once silent witnesses to a terrible crime, had finally yielded their secrets, allowing justice to prevail and Hannah Anderson's story to be told.